Hello and welcome to this webinar in the series on how you can make your club ready for the season of 2018. It's all about leadership, it's all about people, and people can make a massive difference to any club. I've seen it now for the 11 years I've been working with community sports clubs all across the UK and Denmark, where I've seen great people doing great stuff and not so great people not doing very great stuff, if you get my drift. So therefore, how do we get more people? How to get good people involved with your club? How do we get them committed? How to make those changes? And that is the key to many places and how we grow our clubs and become more vibrant, visible and viable. Life is changing and your club has to change with it. Technology, lifestyles, work. 24% of people, have been said, work on social hours. 15% of the population is self-employed. We have to change with that. The days of I've always lived in this part of the world, I'm never going to move anywhere else, have long gone. So we need to be able to accommodate, welcome newcomers, people who've got 2 hours a year to volunteer, people with specific skills, new people, new asylum seekers, refugees, ethnic minorities, all those kind of people, because that is changing. And we in sport and we in cricket have to change with it. Because if we don't, we become what is known as being irrelevant. And then we won't grow. So does your club reflect your community? Or is it the people who you always know who are volunteers, who are involved? Do you actually change your club? Do you do things for the new groups? Do you make newcomers to your community welcome to your club? Question mark. My point is, some people are change makers. I always see myself as a change maker. But sometimes when I walked into places, I felt like blackbird to the left. Not one of them. And you know what? The best way of scaring off a change maker is to make sure that he or she feels you're not one of us. I have seen people saying, our chairman doesn't like this thing here and he's been here 24 years, so we can't do anything of it without him. And in the end, those clubs go stale and they die. So it's about not saying, oh, we like welcoming changes, as long as change that benefit us. As long as I don't have to change, I'm welcoming the change. One of the clubs I've been working with in Scotland, in cricket, the junior section realised that the main committee didn't want to change. So they basically started doing what is called a quiet revolution. Bits and bits and bits and bits and bits of changes. That more and more junior parents became coming on volunteers, bite-sized volunteers, and they really have changed the club now to such a degree that I'm not saying the main committee is relevant, but close. They also knew that if they were confronting the main committee head on, it would become very nasty and probably would fail. So change makers can happen in many different ways. There is no one way of doing it. But trust me, I have seen too many places where that little bird to the left, the black one, just walked away and said, "Shut this for a laugh, I can't be bothered." So we need some skilled firebillies. It has got no relevance whatsoever whether they're interested in cricket or have got any skills in cricket. Firebillies are people who got the skills to want to do things. They're different. And they have got an open mind. It really struck me when I saw some of the places where the All-Star cricket was so successful across England and Scotland, that many parents came down to their cricket club for the first time, and far too many places no one from the club actually struck up conversations with those parents to find out, who are you, what is your skill, can you help us, are you a firebilly? Every time you see a new person at your club, get over there and have a chat. Whether or not they ever played cricket or whether they got no interest in cricket makes no difference whatsoever. My sporting background is handball. We've got about 2 handball players in the UK, maybe 4. But I love sport, but I love also like making a difference in communities. So therefore you can say, I don't know anything about golf, cricket, rugby, etc. All the sports I'm working with at the moment. But the funny thing is, our local sports clubs have never asked me to come and become a fire billy, because I'm not one of them. So change makers are out there. In your community groups, businesses, CVSs, schools, universities, they don't have to look like a cricketer. Some of the clubs I've seen where the change makers come in there is often parents, often mums. And they're the people who can make that difference, but they also have to feel welcome and relevant and listened to. So, hand on heart, would you recommend your club to a neighbour as a great place to be a change maker? Will you recommend, if I walked into your club and said, why don't we do a midnight cricket festival? Or why don't we start using WhatsApp or Instagram? Will I be met with, oh, it wouldn't work here? Or will you say, yes, that's a good idea, let's give it a go? If a 16-year-old said, you know what, I can run your social media for you, but I don't want to be in your committee, what would be the response? I often see people in clubs saying, we like to welcome things as long as people like us. And trust me, being a Dane who lives in the UK, and other places, I've seen people saying, but what do you know about rugby in Wales or cricket in Scotland? The answer is not a lot, but I know an awful lot about clubs. But they still don't really want to make that change. I was with a rugby union club in Wales the other day, and there was a set committee, they have 10 men, and the question was, how do we get more women down here? Half an hour later, the chairman said to me, I like being down here without the wives. And I thought, no wonder why they got a problem of getting women down here, because your attitude shows you don't like women down here. So, what is your club's image out there in your community? So rate your club from 1 to 10, 10 being the best. Your club life, your facilities, are you a nice place to be? Are you willing to change? What do people say about you? Honest. Ask them. Go down to the pub, go down to Tesco's, go down to the supermarket and say, I am from XX Cricket Club, what do you think of us? It may be a frightening experience, but you know what? I would rather have people telling me to my face what they think about me than they're talking about my back. Are you seen as being a place where I'm a change maker, I want to be involved? Do you go out there and say to people, you know what, you can make a difference here? Do you go out there and talk to those parents, the former players, the mayor, the God knows what, everybody in the community? Do you go down to the college and say, you know what, some young students here, do you want to do a social media for us? And do you welcome their input, or do you turn it away? Do you reject it? So we need to get away from this committee mentality. I have to say one thing, I normally go into a rash and get almost like eczema from the word committee. Committee is like a fire billies with heart. They love their sport and nothing wrong with that. But they don't often say, they focus on the short-term things, the day-to-day stuff. They focus on this being steady and being safe, no changes. Anybody who turns up with new ideas, they've been met with, oh, it wouldn't work here, it may work somewhere else, but it wouldn't work here. So the committee is almost a self-preservation society for people like us. Compare that to what I call the project group. I would suggest that in the future you have lots of project groups within your club who exist for a period of time, deals with a specific issue, a challenge, an opportunity, an event. You bring people in with their specific skills, whether it's social media, marketing, fundraising, facilities, God knows what. You are focused on your strategy and the change. You know what you're talking about. If you had a project group about marketing, you would invite me. You wouldn't invite me to a project group about improving your coaching, say. Is it focusing about innovation, doing new things, from learning from others? It's focused around facts, not just the way things are, and specific tasks. That is a completely different way of running a club and having the committee meeting. I can't tell you how many committee meetings I've been to in my 5 years as a volunteer at the Rugby Club in Bedford when I lived there. I was bored stiff. 3 hours of waffle and waffle and waffle. I was busy to my little business, but I'm also busy doing the stuff I want to do, organizing lunches and fundraising activities and marketing. To sit there and listen to people go on about absolutely nothing bored me stiff. So we need to change sports volunteering. We need to get some different people in there. Volunteers are often mates and former players. Yeah, that quote there is actually a true quote. It wouldn't happen at your club, would it? If you only bring people in because they've been involved with cricket, and that's their main criteria for being able to be at the club, you won't grow. If there's too much focus on the too few people, it becomes stale, it becomes pressurized. And when they walk away, or they die, or God knows what, move, the club is stuffed. So we look at who is around the club, and the fewer people you've got around the club, the smaller the pool, the talent pool is. So, exactly, active the new cricket programs for A-Star and all that stuff, All-Star, brought in new people to your club. They've got skills, they've got contact, they've got social networks, work with them. And often also in sports volunteering, I've seen too much infighting, internal politics, and grumpy people and all that stuff. And that can't carry on. It has to be much more professional than that. So the new volunteer, I would rather go to a firm of accountants saying, have you got a young accountant who would like some practice and become our treasurer, head of finance? Do you actually go away on a pre-season tour and look at other clubs? Some clubs, the players go on a pre-season tour or have pre-season matches to prepare for the season. What about the committee? When was the last time you went down to the local rugby club or football club or another charity or whatever to see how did you do on your business? What can we learn from you guys? Yes, I'm serious. The funny thing is, I've organised a number of study tours from local authorities from Denmark to the UK and vice versa. So I know you can say that's their job. But you know what? If you see some new stuff, you can learn from it and move forward and maybe take something back to your club. But also it inspires the committee to work together and the whole club to work together. So we need some training, we need people. We need some people who are good at this stuff, building teams, communication, all that stuff. Forget about cricket for the moment. It's about leadership and change. And remember, almost half of volunteers are not coaches. Do you recognise them within your club? Is there a one? Cricket Scotland's award programme includes Changemaker of the Year. Exactly. Do you have an award programme for Best Changemaker, Best Income Generator, Best Community Builder, Best Cricket Grower? Do you recognise them? Do you say thank you? Or is it always the coaches? In the 5 years I was a volunteer, I couldn't coach the line-outs in the rugby club, but no one ever said thank you to me. Never. Compare that to when I was a volunteer at the Prince's Trust. Every year I would get a Christmas card from Prince Charles to say thank you. I know he didn't sign the Christmas card himself. I know they're printed. There are 3,000 minters in the Prince's Trust, so you can't sign 3,000 cards. I appreciate that. But at least I felt recognised. I felt valued. Whereas in my sports club days, no one ever said thank you. They were busy enough telling me there weren't enough people at the lunches or whatever the stuff we did, and all the politics. I gave up volunteering after 5 years because of one thing, politics. In the end, I couldn't stand all the infighting and God knows what. Sometimes we're too informal. Sometimes it's just based around chats. Sometimes it's all about procedures and governance and all the rest. We need to basically be efficient and effective. We need to be a bit more professional. Not bureaucratic, but also get away from... So there's finding a balance between formal and informal. Of course, your AGM has to be a formal procedure because that is when you want to decide things for your club. But on a day-to-day basis, you can do things in a Skype call, 3 people deciding all to get together, say like, how do we organize the next function? Say, who's going to go out there to that school? We don't have to have a formal meeting at the club for that. The internet has been invented. This is a webinar. We are sitting in different parts of the UK at this webinar. There's no point me coming up to Scotland to run around to 50 clubs. So use technology to create a more professional environment. Those new people are different. If you want to get new people in there, there has to be something in for them. They want other people to be professional. If I'm going to give up my time and my spare time for you lot, it has to be professional. I don't want to waste my time faffing around. I also want to have fun. We need leadership. You need professionalism. And it's how we manage that. By the way, is that your club committee there? Or is that sort of some far-fetched group of young people? I would say, if I saw that club committee, like those 6 people there, I would think I would like to be involved in that club. Use your connections. Right now, I strongly suggest, when this webinar is over, you sit down and draw up a list of people out there you know. You look at how would they perceive your club. If they were the 5 best change makers in your community, how would they perceive your club? Would they see your club as a place where they would feel welcome to come and be change makers? And what do you need, A, to make sure that your club environment is welcoming to those change makers? To how would you go and approach these people to come down to your club and be a change maker? That's 2 key criteria, 2 key points of action. Making your club change maker friendly, to use that phrase, to encourage and motivate change makers to come down to your club. Change makers are engaged with their community. They're people who aren't there talking to people, be involved. They may be because they are ahead of a school, or they may be running the local shops or whatever. But they may also be people who are that way. Change makers make everybody feel welcome, not just people that like themselves. And trust me, if I came down to your club and I stood there and no one spoke to me, I would go home. The change makers provide great experiences for new people. Whether or not they can hold a cricket bat or bowl a ball doesn't make no difference. Change makers use social media. They use their networks. They build up that kind of reputation, that network within the community. And they follow up. Follow up is the most undervalued aspect of being a change maker. I probably get more business by following up because the other day somebody said to me, "You're like a terrier, Sven, you always follow up." And I said, "Thanks for the compliment." Far too many people just don't follow up and just let things go. You haven't got time, I hear you say, but you know what? If you're going to get those change makers in there and develop that social network, there has to be an element of change at the beginning, and then that follow-up is important. And then gradually it becomes part of the ethos within your club. Thanks for listening. It was really great. In a moment, you can put your hand up and you can ask questions. You can type me a question and I'll come back to you straight away. Thank you very much for your time.